are clearing storm debris from roadways in Decatur County, which is one of the hardest hit areas in the state. I might add, in general terms, right now the main focus is going to be on debris removal so that power line trucks and repair crews can access the areas that are without power. In that regard, we're told there are about 450,000 power outages that have been reported statewide, and the primary focus at this point is on damage assessment and getting crews in to restore that power as quickly as possible. There are more than 53 poultry houses that were completely destroyed in southwest Georgia, and the Department of Agriculture is coordinating the necessary responses. The Georgia State Patrol has made initial response teams that are moving into southwest Georgia and have established a command post in Miller County. The Georgia State Patrol Aviation Operations is beginning their route reconnaissance and damage assessments in the hardest hit area, which is southwest Georgia. The Georgia Department of Transportation has reports of 127 state routes that are closed due to trees and an additional 120 roads with debris on them. They are beginning preliminary assessments now and expect that number to increase throughout the day, but every GDOT crew is out working for storm response. The Department of Corrections has 17 debris removal teams working throughout the affected area. 6 Red Cross shelters are open with a total of 372 residents overnight. The ARC and GEMA and Homeland Security continue to coordinate with local EMAs regarding additional sheltering needs. The Department of Public Health is coordinating with approximately 20 hospitals and 15 nursing homes that are reporting power outages. All are currently operating on a generator system. There are communications outages that are spread throughout the affected area, primarily southwest Georgia. GEMA is working with all telecommunications carriers on conducting damage assessments and evaluating the cell tower sites that might have been damaged as a result of the hurricane. We'll open it up now for your questions.
Governor, you mentioned, or Commissioner Black mentioned yesterday that Cotton and Deacon Crawford kind of at ground zero. What's been the early assessment of those?
Well, we asked that question of him, and he's here, and I'll let him expound on it. I think it's still too early to make any good assessment, but Commissioner?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Governor. It is our worst dreams, I believe, are being realized. I have seen in pictures this morning of cotton that was being harvested yesterday. It was an outstanding yield of 3 bales an acre. And today, where the farmer stopped this morning, you cannot tell where he stopped harvest and where the rest of it was harvested by the storm. So we're working with our federal partners. There's going to be a lot of work to do in that regard. Some pecan affected areas from last year are have somewhat escaped a little bit, but then there are others that we're not even having communication with them yet. We're still trying to reach those growers in southwest Georgia. So it's a very serious day for agriculture. This is going to have a lingering effects to the rural parts of our state for some time to come. But we look forward to keeping you informed as we move forward.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anyone else?
We've heard about one death related to this storm here in Georgia, and certainly a young girl. Then it's going to be tough for you to hear, but to know if you have any other updates on
That's all we have heard, and it was apparently a tree that fell on her house or trailer, whatever. And that's unfortunate when you have loss of life. But we don't deal with that issue primarily from our office. We're waiting on any further reports, but thank goodness that's the only one that I'm aware of at the present time.
Governor, you spoke with President Trump yesterday. He declared a federal disaster today. Talk about what impact that has on the state and its ability to respond to the state.
Well, we have gotten a partial granting of federal response for our request for assistance. It relates primarily to debris removal at this point in time, which is, of course, our priority item. Not all of the counties, I'm told, were included in that federal debris removal approval, but hopefully the major ones are going to be covered by the expenses incurred in that. That will continue to be an ongoing issue because debris removal is always a big issue after a hurricane in Georgia because we have so many trees that are adversely affected with high winds. But we do anticipate perhaps that the President will come and view portions of our state that were affected. We feel certain that he probably will go to Florida. We're hopeful that if he goes to Florida, he will also see fit to come to Georgia and see the affected areas here. I still do not have confirmation on that issue yet.
Dr. Beal, is it too early to give a big picture assessment of how this storm impacted our state? I know yesterday you were really concerned about how bad it might be. Is it less than we thought it might be, or do we just not know yet?
It depends on who you talk to. If you're one that got hit, it was a real disaster, obviously. It is still very early in the process. Many of the agencies that are represented by the heads who are here today are still in that assessment stage. Really couldn't do much during the nighttime hours, and really only this morning after the sun came up can you give a very thorough assessment. We have the helicopters that are doing their job in that regard. It is still too early to give some summarization of what the total effects are.
Governor, you said that the Decatur County seemed to be hardest hit. Can you expound on that a little bit? You know, why it was hardest hit, what you saw there, or what's been reported there?
Well, that is one of the harder hit areas. As we know, it came across the Florida Panhandle and then into that corner of southwest Georgia. And those counties that are in that area, Seminole and the others, they're the ones that were the most heavily impacted. They're also the ones that, because of that impact, have been more difficult to assess because communications in some respects have been drastically reduced. So as we get those abilities to communicate and get firsthand reports, we'll be in a better posture to be able to give you all a further report later.
Governor, a follow-up please for Commissioner Black. You mentioned yesterday that you were going to have a call with Secretary Perdue to see about the resources that we think may support Georgian farmers. Could you give us a follow-up on what resources you may believe may specifically be made available from the federal level for Georgian farmers?
It was a very, very good call. Certainly a heartfelt call because of his from relationship and being our governor and now providing outstanding leadership there. I expect that he will be back. We had anticipated talking again today. There are no details except just actually some personal stories of have you heard from somebody, and we kind of go down that call list together. There's deep concern. There's commitment from the White House. I'm very thankful to had a call from the White House also yesterday, committing their that communication that's so necessary when you're implementing whatever type of relief programs might be coming through USDA or FEMA. So we're in a very good position when it comes to communication and certainly an understanding of the gravity of the situation. So we'll be maintaining those lines of communication and look forward to reporting to all of you when we have more information.
Governor, can you talk about the status of the National Guard right now, what they're doing, and also talk about everything is pre-positioned, how well pre-positioned were you, how easy has it been to get into the interior where they need to be?
What I'll ask General Gerard, the head of our National Guard, to respond to that question. General.
So we alerted 1,500 soldiers and airmen yesterday, and they began moving to the impacted areas this morning. So we've got route clearance packages that are headed south. We are also been asked by GEMA to stand up 2 points of distribution sites to resupply the citizens that are impacted as well as the first responders that are down there. And as well, we've also alerted the military police, and we're going to send 150 military police to Albany to thicken the Georgia State Patrol and assist them in their responsibilities.
Anyone else? Well, thank you all for.
I was just going to ask, did you speak to the President directly, and if so, how did the conversation go?
I spoke to the President directly on Air Force One, And I thought that was exceptionally nice of him to go out of his way to talk to me personally. And I complimented him, and I complimented him for his secretaries of his various agencies. I have had 4 or 5 different secretaries to call me personally. I had one this morning that called me again. And they've been very, very responsive. I had the Southeastern Regional Commander of the Army Corps of Engineers. She called me yesterday, and she stands ready to do. And of course, when it comes to debris removal, the best way to do that probably is to use the federal contractors who are already on standby and under contract for debris removal. So we've had very good cooperation from the White House and from the various agencies under the White House's jurisdiction.
And Governor Deal, if you just had one specific message to the people affected by the storm across the state, what would that be? What would you want them to hear?
Well, first of all, be patient. The most important thing for them is to get their roadways cleared and to get their power restored. However, past experience tells us that one of the greatest impediments to restoring power is people who get in the way of the power trucks and the crews who are working to make that happen. So I would ask them to be patient. Do not impede those who are trying to help you. They are there working very hard, and all of the entities that have responsibility for providing power to our citizens are all engaged, and they're going to get power restored just as fast as they possibly can. But anybody knows that if you've ever been without power, that is a very difficult situation. We're not accustomed to that. And those institutions that are fortunate enough to have generators, and of course those are the important ones, the hospitals and the nursing homes, and we are told that all of them have power, many of them by way of generators, that we are working with the power companies. They're working to make sure that the regular supply of energy is restored as quickly as possible. Thank you for your question. Thank you all for being here this morning.